This is Benny, a cute but seemingly slow-witted black boy. All of his classmates score very well on their class tests, while Benny's marks are highly predictable. He scores single digits every time and becomes the laughingstock of his peers. He believes he's the dumbest person alive and tells his mother that he can improve because he's just dumb. But his mother has a different view. She constantly motivates him, telling him that he, too, can achieve great things in life. This is a true story of a man, a flesh and blood example of someone leading an extraordinary life despite being mocked and racially harassed time and time again by both friends and teachers. He bounces back and does what only a genius can do. His story begins in a classroom, where, as expected, Benny scores a 0 on his class test. A girl comments that he's got none, but the teacher misshears and thinks he got a 9. While the other students score above 20, the teacher seems pleased with Benny's improvement, since 9 is a big jump for him. When the class sees Benny's marks, they laugh, as is the routine. But it doesn't end there. To make matters worse, Benny is relentlessly mocked whenever he's seen. He's followed everywhere. Not because he's celebrated, but for the wrong reasons. A group of bullies follows him and starts taunting him. Benny looks frustrated, as anyone would in his position. He becomes furious, loses control, and punches one of the boys in the face with a lock in his hand, bleeding him out. The principal calls his mother into his office and warns her about the incident. He also shows her Benny's report card, which is far from encouraging. In almost every subject, Benny fails. These bullying incidents significantly affect Benny's confidence and mindset. He repeatedly tells his mother, Sonia, that he's not smart enough. But Sonia remains a constant source of motivation for him and his older brother, Curtis. One day, Benny asks his mother for help with his studies. Sonia, trying to avoid the situation, says she needs new reading glasses. She soon discovers that Benny has a problem with his eyesight. He can't read the small words properly. She gets him glasses and voila. Benny starts improving his grades, acing class tests and spelling competitions. One Sunday morning, he attends a church service. The minister delivers a powerful sermon telling a story about a doctor. Benny begins imagining himself as that doctor, and this imagination unlocks a whole new world of learning and growth for him. He returns home and tells his mother he wants to be a doctor. He pushes past his disbelief that he's not smart, and a new vista of life opens up for him. However, Sonia is concerned. The boys spend too much time watching TV. Saddened, she visits a psychiatric facility and confides in a doctor about her fears and anxieties. She never went to school and married young, at just 13. She later found out her husband had another wife and child from a previous marriage. Despite these hardships, she stayed in the marriage for the sake of her boys. Eventually, she learns her husband was involved in drug dealing, and she leaves him, raising her sons as a single mother. Sonia's life is hard. She works as a cleaner to support the family, but her truth remains hidden from the children. The stress takes a toll on her mental health, and she begins to suffer from depression. The doctor learns she has suicidal thoughts and suggests she be admitted for a few days. Though worried, she agrees. Sonia tells Curtis and Benny that she is visiting Detroit and leaves them in the care of an elderly woman. She asks the boys to memorize their times tables, and though they protest, they have no choice. While Sonia is at the hospital, she finds a letter from Benny among her belongings. It's full of spelling mistakes, but the heartfelt message moves her to tears. Meanwhile, Benny continues to improve his studies. He scores 24 out of 25 on his next class test. Sonia returns home and is eager to tell her sister, Scott, their caregiver. But to her surprise, she finds Benny has already told his mom about his progress. Sonia is visibly proud and happy and continues to motivate Benny as he keeps improving. Sonia later finds work cleaning for a learned and compassionate person. She's amazed by the massive room filled with books. When she returns home, she finds the boys watching TV. She turns it off and insists that they go to the library, read 2 books a week, and write reports on each. She also declares that they can only watch 2 TV programs a week after completing their homework. Though frustrated, the boys comply. They enroll in the library and develop a reading habit. They start watching quiz shows to broaden their knowledge. Benny's newfound love for learning quickly pays off. During class, the teacher asks the class about a rock, and no one knows the answer except Benny. He identifies it as obsidian and goes on to explain its formation. The teacher is astonished by Benny's depth of knowledge and calls him to speak after class. The teacher tells Benny that he's unlocked the power of his brain, a statement that's especially impactful coming from a teacher. Benny excels in class, winning the spelling competition, but the teacher is visibly unhappy. At the annual awards ceremony, the school principal announces Benny as the best overall student. Sonia and Curtis, sitting in the audience, are as proud as Benny. Benny collects his certificate, but when the teacher takes the microphone, she makes a racist comment. She says the other students should be ashamed that, despite Benny being a black student raised by a poor single mother, he outperformed them. She fails to see his talent beyond her racist views. This incident shakes Sonia, who decides to enroll Benny in a school where his talent will be appreciated, regardless of his skin color. At his new school, Benny is bullied for his shabby, out-of-fashion clothes. He responds in kind, and soon he and the bully become friends. The bully is a fashionista, and his fancy clothes make Benny feel inferior and insecure. He asks his mother for money to buy new clothes, and though Sonia doesn't have much, she reluctantly agrees. She buys Benny a new pair of pants, but Benny argues that they're not fashionable enough and demands clothes like his friends. Sonia, disapproving of his superficial desires, says that people obsessed with fashion are empty inside. During an argument, Benny picks up a hammer and charges at her. Curtis intervenes to stop him. Benny gets involved with bad company, and his fashionista friend introduces him to a gang. He buys a knife, and during an argument, his friend insults him. Benny, in a moment of rage, stabs him, but fortunately, the knife was already broken, and no serious harm is done. Benny flees the school in fear, which turns out to be a blessing in disguise. He escapes the toxic friendship and learns to control his anger. Benny later gets admitted to Yale on a scholarship. He struggles to adjust to college life and feels out of place. He tells his girlfriend, Candy, that he's only good at reading. Candy encourages him to study on his own, and he does so tirelessly, day and night. Chemistry proves to be his greatest challenge, but he studies so hard that he begins hallucinating, imagining the chemistry professor writing formulas for him on the board. His hard work pays off, and he decides to become a neurosurgeon. He applies to Johns Hopkins University, renowned for its neurosurgery program. The competition is fierce, with only 2 spots available. Benny is determined to be admitted, applying only to Johns Hopkins and no other school. He nails his interview, impressing the doctor with his confidence. When asked why he wants to be a neurosurgeon, Benny replies that he believes the brain is a mysterious organ, and he wants to uncover its secrets. His confidence wins him the spot at Johns Hopkins. At Johns Hopkins, Benny excels, though he faces racial prejudice from a senior doctor who tells him he's not exceptional. Benny, now Dr. Carson, must prove himself. He performs a life-saving surgery on a patient without a license, risking his career. The operation is a success, and his senior doctor commends him for saving a life. As his career progresses, Dr. Carson faces even more challenges. A young girl with constant seizures is brought to the hospital. The other doctors have written her off, but Dr. Carson believes she needs a hemispherectomy, removal of part of her brain. The procedure is risky, but he assures the parents that the brain's remarkable ability to recover could make it possible. The night before the surgery, Dr. Carson prays. The operation is a success, and the girl speaks and moves again, defying all expectations. This breakthrough makes headlines, and Dr. Carson becomes a hero. Dr. Carson's professional success continues, but his personal life suffers a blow when he and his wife lose their stillborn child. He takes time off to support his wife, but she urges him to return to work. Despite his grief, he continues his work, determined to help others. His most challenging case comes when he's invited to Germany to separate conjoined twins. The surgery is risky, with no room for error. Dr. Carson researches tirelessly and prepares for the operation, which takes 22 hours to complete. It's a success, and the twins are separated. Dr. Carson's remarkable work continues to inspire and save lives, proving that determination, resilience, and belief in one's abilities can lead to greatness. The end.